Welcome to Lab Results. We are live Wednesday, the 1st of September. Man, this COVID years going by like nobody's business. Every day becomes just one big day. But we are excited to be here tonight. We have a great conversation that we're going to have. I have two of my brothers, two of my fellow Black Man Lab board members that are actually going to be on tonight to be panelists this evening, provide some great insight because they themselves have done some great things and have helped some other young folks get to great things. So I felt it was really appropriate to have them on this evening. So, but before we get started, I want to make sure that we do what we always do, which is bring our ancestors into this space. What we do here on Lab Results is a really simple shout out to our ancestors and really simple libation and pulling them into the space, which is us brothers here, simply thinking of somebody that may have motivated us today. And I'm going to ask you all that out there that if you are listening in, somebody in your history, somebody in your past that really helps you to get to where you are today. Think about them and hold them in your heart. And we're going to do the same right now and just put our right fist in the air and just say that person's name. So on three, brothers, if you could with me. 1, 2, 3, Karita Williams.
Mama Flora.
Ashe. So without further ado, because we only have an hour here on Lab Results, we want to make sure that we dive into the conversation. And we want to make sure that we are getting into the meat of what got these brothers to where they are today, but then also the different gems that they can drop for those that are listening out there. First and foremost, I want to introduce both of these gentlemen. And first, I'm going to introduce my brother, Fred Parham. Fred.
Yeah, brother. How y'all doing tonight? How's everybody at
Awesome.
Lab Results? I'm blessed to be here for the very first time. It's my first time on Lab Results. And
now I'll say this, Fred. You were really instrumental when we were doing our Black Man Lab live on virtual. So we're glad to have you here finally, brother. So thank you. My other partner in crime, Jarrod, what's happening? You're on mute, Jarrod.
I'm sorry. What's going on there, Marty? What's going on, everyone? Thank you for having me, brother. It's my first time as well, so I'm happy to be here.
Man, glad to have you. Glad to have you. So before we get started, go. What you said, Fred?
I said we need some first-time bells and whistles.
But also with us tonight, behind the scenes, is our super engineer, producer extraordinaire, Mark Lawson, who is behind the scenes. I'm surprised he didn't come up with a, y'all were introduced, man. But I'm sure Mark will come up with something next time. So before we get started, guys, this is what we want to do. I just want to find out and give a little bit about you all's history. What got you to where you are today? As far back as when you were kids, right? And where you grew up, the homes you grew up in, and what that looked like. And what kind of moved you in the direction to get to where you are today. And Fred, if you could start, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Marty. And I know that we're pressed for time, so I'll be brief and just keep mine to like 3 milestones or decisions that I made, which were pivotal in my life's path. And I'll start one with listening to my mom and dad, who I grew up with. Right. And right. So I'm not saying that to be funny to the listeners or viewers, but especially to the youth man, it starts there. You can't be a leader at all about anything if you don't listen first. And so that's one. And then, man, in high school, I was a pretty good athlete, and I had 4 siblings and 3 older than me, 2 of whom were newspaper making, headline making athletes in San Antonio, my older brother in football, my sister in track and field. And so I went to the military, which is my second milestone. And the summer of my junior year, I joined the Army Reserves, kind of following my brother and having, made some poor decisions in terms of my basketball playing time on varsity. And then thirdly, really just deciding to go to graduate school here in Atlanta. At the time, it was 1996, and I'll talk more about that year, in that time, and why Atlanta was such a big draw for me and so many other millions of folks who live here.
Yeah, and before we move over to Brother Jarrod, so Fred, you were an athlete in high school.
Yeah, basketball.
Okay. Now, see, I knew Brother Jarrod hoop. I never knew that you hoop too, man. Look at that. Okay, we almost got 5, right?
We have 5. We don't book and tell before.
we had to beat the young sons there, Marty. So Fred was out there. Fred was out there making sure we won.
I'm mad I missed that. I'm mad I missed that back when. But
Brother's got video footage. I think Kobe's got the video if they didn't destroy it.
He might have got rid of that.
Eldridge has the video.
Eldridge has it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to check that out. And we know that we'll just let that be where it is now. And we won't go back to that. We won't try to relive that because that might not go so well now. So thanks so much, Fred. We'll dive deeper as well, man. Brother Jarrod, how about you? I knew you grew up in a little town not too far from where I grew up at, but go ahead.
Right. That's right. Yeah, so I grew up in Racine, Wisconsin in the Midwest, and my family, although they're from the South, they migrated north following my mother. And I have a close-knit, large family like many. And as well as I grew up in a community in Racine, on the south side of Racine, all Black community, working class community. And, a lot of times you don't realize what you missed until it's no longer there. And so I could really say I grew up in a community. And so Southside Racine, I love basketball, played basketball 2-3 times a day, looking for whether it's the alley, the monkey bars, or the basketball court at the school. But Southside Center was, was our ritual place where we played ball every day except for Friday evenings, which I still don't understand why that's the case, but that was always the place we played. My mother was instrumental in our community with bringing a lot of programs and, writing a lot of grants for the community. So I think I somewhat followed her footsteps in just doing community work. So it's just a natural thing. And I think that's what we all share as a brotherhood. Just, we naturally will do things as a brotherhood for our community, without pay, and so, so I always was a part of doing some type of Black male initiative for young Black men, talking to young Black men, talking to middle school students as a high school student. Mm-hmm. And there was a brother from Morehouse that inspired me, while I was a sophomore in high school. And he inspired me because this brother was, sharp, strong, suited and booted. And the strength of how he spoke and his ability to articulate and his intelligence, it made me say, that's who I want to be. Because I was a little wayward and I just wasn't interested in school as much. Mm-hmm. I did what I needed to do to play hoop. But that inspirational talk made me go a little more hard in the paint when it came to education. And I went to Wilberforce undergrad. I went to Clark Atlanta in 91 for graduate school and Department of Political Science. And even right now, I'm finishing up my PhD at Clark Atlanta University. I'm writing my dissertation now in political science, and I'm a professor at Clark Atlanta University in political science. So I've been an educator my entire career. I'm a second-generation educator, and so I didn't re-meet my father until I was in my 20s. So from about 4 years old till in my 20s is when I was reacquainted with that relationship. And so
let me jump in real quick. How did that happen? What was the occurrence of that?
It's deep, brother, because my uncle was the chief of Atlanta Fire Department. He was in the newspaper. One of my cousins from South Carolina, that's where the Grant family is from, saw him in the newspaper. She got in touch with him, and her first thing was, "Where's Jarrod?" And my wife at the time and I were already going to the Bella Festival in Beaufort, South Carolina. That's where my family's from, my father's paternal side. And I met my family there. I didn't meet my father on that trip. I came back for another trip. And it was kind of like, what's the movie with Antoine Fisher with everybody around the table, you know, and just waiting for that particular moment. And my father was the patriarch of the family because my grandfather, his father, died when I was probably about 2 or 3. So he's the eldest of a Black woman who had about 19 children. So Grant family is large, but extremely large, double the size of my uncles and aunts on my maternal side. So my father was into politics and my mother was into education. So just think, I'm an educator who teaches politics. So somewhere both influenced me, you know. Yeah.
Those genes don't lie, do they?
Yeah, they don't. They
don't lie. Wow. And so now, when you met him, did you all maintain since? Or?
Oh yeah. We just were kindred spirits, of course. Kindred, being a coincidental word, but we became very close very quickly until his death, and so I was reacquainted with him when I was about 25, 26, and he passed away 2013.
That's beautiful though, that you were able to have that relationship still, man. So often that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And you have reconciliation. So those things always just interest me. You know, I've been fortunate that, you know, my dad just turned 86, and you know, he's always been in my life. You know, and it's all I've ever known. So
right.
That's beautiful though, man. There's always a different path, right? Different path for us to get to where we know it's supposed to be. You said something else too that was stuck with me too. You talked about trying to hoop anywhere you could, you know, on the playground, through the jungle gym and all that. It made me think about what's everybody doing right now. That crate challenge that, you know, everybody's doing. Right. We used to take the crate and nail it to the pole, you know. Right. That was a hoop. So different times, brothers, different times. So man, listen, Jarrod, you were there on Monday, and you saw what we talked about as a topic as related to our young folks getting to their greatness, right? What were your thoughts on the panel and the subject matter there?
I thought it was great. I mean, the brothers talked about their own lives and what inspired them. I think it's important for our youth to know that the experiences that they're having are valuable, and it's going to help them skill up later on in life. And, you know, youth is a rehearsal for manhood and womanhood. You know, you're rehearsing, you're doing exercises, you're practicing in order to see what type of personality, what type of character, and what type of person you're going to be. And so hopefully, like Maoli likes to talk about, you get as many good touches and positive touches you can in order to build those skills. Our generation, as you know, and when I compare, we're Generation X. But when I look at millennials and Generation Z, my son is 23, he's Z. My daughter's 13, she's Z. I never feel they're doing enough activities. And when we were involved in activities, I played in the band, I played all of the sports. My neighborhood was the same, as far as, people playing all sports. People were good in all sports. I go anywhere, I'm the man. But in my own city, I'm just a regular dude. I'm a baller, but I'm a regular baller.
Right.
Amongst some greats, because it was a culture there. And so, one of the brothers talked about his life growing up in around criminality, how that impacted his life, and how a good woman helped to inspire him to change, how he saw life and his perspective, and what he did. That life experience was important for him to be able to see and read people. That's what he talked about. Knowing the psychology of folks across the board table was made him, quite successful. Mm-hmm. And so what I would tell youth is all of your experiences are significant and are important. And they actually will help you skill up in the future. And so embrace them, good, bad, or indifferent, ugly. Embrace them and be able to utilize those later. Somehow it's going to sing through and help you get through a lot of situations and lessons. And as you know, Marty, we use basketball as our kung fu. It teaches us so many lessons. Sure. If we get knocked down, you get back up, you hustle back down the court. You got to get back up and hustle in life. It's the same thing. I've been divorced a couple times, so I understand in getting back up on your feet after you've been, financially obliterated, to a certain extent, to ensure that your children and others are taken care of. And so you sacrifice in a manner and a way to ensure all of that. But all of these things are, I saw from the panel, what I took away is making sure that our life experiences speak to our future and present life on how we go about doing things and skilling up. So that's what I heard them saying to me.
Yeah. Kind of across the board, that message was underlined in everything that the panelists said. And basically these experiences that you have are, really what you're supposed to have to help you to get to your, whatever that purpose is. Right. We had one panelist talking about purpose being more important than, the financial gain.
That's right.
And the purpose happens. And I think we get this as we get older. We start to learn that purpose is far more important than the, whatever the material thing is you may have wanted, whatever your financial goals are, because as you work through that purpose and as you start to see that, you start to feel the greatness. You start to feel really great about what you're doing, number one, but then number two, all that other stuff usually follows right behind it. So yeah, I got that. That was great stuff, man. And Fred, I want to come to you with, I know that you are in the educational space. You've been teaching for a good while. So you've seen some things, right? You've seen some kids that have not done so well, and you've seen some that have done really well, I'm sure, that probably have come back to you at a later date to say, Mr. Parham, thank you, or at least to tell you about whatever they got to, right? And telling you that as a means of telling you thank you. You know what I mean? Might not say thank you right out, but that's definitely letting you know. So what have you seen in the youth that you have interacted with in terms of them getting to that greatness? What have you seen as traits? What have you seen as things that they've done? And if you got any examples, cool, but you can tell us about that.
Yeah, it's funny. You use the word greatness because I was just telling a few of the young people I was working with today that I should get some shirts made called "Walking in Your Greatness," because that's my mantra, to them both when they succeed and when they fail.
Right.
And I have the sincere privilege to work with students who have a lot of means and resources, and the college students that I work with. But then I work with the least of these. One of my students is homeless, who just got her GED, and others are in group homes, and really have homes that, are, let's just say, non-traditional. And so, in that, they suffer a sense of a lack of identity. And so I can see just in the work over the years that, you learn to measure success differently when you're working in the lives of human beings. And I'm sure Jarrod would agree that, a failure is not even possible when you're sincerely seeking to inspire a student as an educator. They may not rise to the level, with the word you use, Marty, material wealth, but they will be leaders nevertheless, if nothing else but their own home. Mm. And the stability that they lack, or whatever that family they come from, they can anchor one of their own. And so, just empowering young people in that regard is probably the thing that I see most common, is that just young people needing to be empowered, across the board. Because while those who are in college I work with have all the advantages of being in college and, in that piece, there's something to be said for someone who has a sense of identity and purpose. And even though you might come from a particular home, it doesn't guarantee you have a strong sense of identity or purpose. Part of a community, in fact. And that's why, over the years, we brothers, see the same brothers, same faces in different places. Supporting what we love so much. But part of the reason we love it is because we experienced it. And so, yeah, I appreciate, just being in that position to work with so many different kind of young people.
Sure. And that, you said something there, being able to do the work and seeing any sort of success within it, right? Where you see a person's life that you've affected in a positive way. There's no monetary value for it, right? You see that and you're just like, okay, we're moving forward, right? We're moving our folks forward. And you also talked about that failure piece. I think what happens so often, especially with our young folks, is a failure occurs, right? And I don't even like using the term failure. I'll say a non-success occurs, right? Where something didn't go their way. And it can be derailing and wind up being the end of whatever that greatness was that they had. Or it can be a learning opportunity and a stepping stone to get them that much closer to their greatness. And the most successful people in whatever they've done have failed probably more than most folks, because the thing is, usually people fail and that's the end of it. You stop trying, right? So I got that message out of that on Monday as well. That was something that was said, that somebody used the analogy of the seed of the redwood tree, right? The seed of the redwood, right? In California, you can't get 20 people to lock arms around one of the trees. They're so big, and they go all the way up into the sky high. But that tree came from a seed this big, right? So that seed had to succeed and succeed and work and work and work, go through different kinds of environmental stuff, you name it. They've had to survive to get to that big tree that they become. That's no different than us. We have to work and work through all the different challenges that we have in life to get to the greatness that we want to get to. But I love the idea of purpose behind it, man. So let's talk about that a little bit further. We're always encouraging our young folks to whatever your dream is. I don't care what it is. You want to be an astronaut, go. Do whatever you got to do that. What do you think is and I'll start with you, Fred, what do you think is the most important piece for people to start with in terms of getting to their greatness?
I think a sense of belonging and self-worth, and probably that's the same thing. Mm-hmm. But it's so important to live in a life where you create value, right? And that's not, again, limited to any material thing. So I think the most important thing is just a sense of self-worth and belonging, because life, as we all know, is tough. So that molds you, but there are more hands than yours on the molding. Mm-hmm. That community in which you're molded and shaped. Those examples that Jarrod mentioned in the Morehouse brother, who came all the way from Morehouse to Racine. But that was probably on invitation from some of his community leaders, whether school officials or neighborhood people. So I think that the molding and the sense of belonging happen when we can provide, texture and identity to our kids, to their lives. So I think that's the most important trait of living a purpose-filled life.
That's good stuff. What about you, Fred? Jarrod?
Yeah, to dovetail on what we've been talking about, purpose and direction. The brother talked about purpose, and you brought it back up, Marty. What's your purpose? And so one of the things our students, our youth have to know is answer that question. What is your purpose? Why do you think you are here? And so, and know that, put some folks around you that's going to help you. Fred and I talked about this a couple weeks back. Our friendship circle is a serious circle. We inspire each other to go further. Our peer pressure is, Fred, finish your PhD. And that's what that brother is doing.
Right.
Another brother told me that, almost 10 years ago, hey man, you need to, finish that. We got attorneys around us. Maoli's fighting civil rights cases. He's the attorney we would want to be if we were attorneys.
Right.
And that's inspirational. One of my other closest friends, everybody knows, Dr. Gary White, his inspiration in the field of social work and how many lives he's saved, Black family lives he has saved. These are priesthoods. And in my priesthood of my career, I also am a part of a brotherhood that does certain things for their community, for their people. Sure. And so I'm telling these youth, what's your purpose? And whatever you think that is, now I need you to get disciplined about it. Mm-hmm. I need you to focus on it. I need you to work on it. In my classes, I talk about what's called, and people have heard of it, the 10,000 hour rule. But I take it to 50,000 hours, 5 times 10,000. Mm-hmm. And meaning you got to have something in 5 different areas. Whatever it is that you think your purpose as far as career is concerned, you should be working on those hours in that. You should be working on something physical in your life, because you should be moving in energy. Is that basketball? Play basketball. If it's dancing, dance. but you need to be doing something physical. Technology. We're in the digital age. We're now surfacing on Web 3.0. What is your proficiency in something technological? Number 4, art. What art form are you doing? Are you painting? Are you doing poetry? You need something that allows your right brain to express itself in a particular way, which helps to inspire you in ways that you don't even know about yourself. And lastly, of course, but not least, is spirit. What are you doing to work on yourself spiritually? We all need a spiritual center. So what is that? Are you Muslim? Are you Christian? Are you do you practice African spirituality? Do you practice Buddhism, Hinduism? What is it? And how well are you capturing and understanding the depths of those spiritual systems? So 5 times 10,000, 50,000 hours. You should never be bored. A child saying I'm bored means that they're boring because you don't have time, because you're rehearsing for manhood, you're rehearsing for womanhood. So you don't have time. You're supposed to be skilling up. You're supposed to be working on yourself. And we're constantly working on ourselves, and we're constantly passing different stages. We are now working on becoming the best elders for our community. We're not there yet. But
watch your mouth, man.
We're not there. We're long from there. We're spry at our age, where at this age, when we was young, you kind of look a little bit more broke down. And so, that's not what Generation X looks like. Generation X looks totally different. So we're bringing a whole new thing on what eldership will look like. And how we will inspire the next generation. So that's my piece to it.
That's good stuff, man. That is really good stuff. And it's funny, you just mentioned, just on my mind right now, you just mentioned, us working on elders. I've had so many young folks lately that, I look, in my mind, I'm like, well, we're not that far apart in age, in my mind.
Exactly.
And they're like, hey, Unc, if I get unc'd one more time, boy.
Hey, Marty, about a few years ago, they was on the basketball court, they would say, hey, old school, pass me the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And so I couldn't conceive of this.
Yeah. They call it me old school.
Right.
I'm taking all y'all to the hoop. What you talking about?
Exactly. I got mad. Get old school, he can shoot,
Exactly.
I've had that one so many times. But, one of the questions that was asked on Monday that I thought was pretty interesting, because I thought that I really knew the answer and I knew how it would be answered, but it went a different direction, was how do we help to inspire our younger folks to find their purpose to get to their greatness, right? And I have an idea about that, but I want to hear you all. What do you all think is the kind of that bridge, if you will, to help our young folks to see that there is a possibility of achieving whatever that is, and at a very high level? What do you think, Fred?
Yeah, I think it's having, I have 5 kids, 3 adults and 1 in high school freshman year and 1 in the 8th grade. And I've taught for 20 years. And I think, one, if you want to see young people be successful, you have to inspire them. You have to live an inspired life as a parent, as a teacher or whatever. So to inspire someone, you have to live an inspired life. And so that means whatever you're passionate about, it has to exude from your life, meaning it becomes a part of your teaching, conversation, and instruction. It becomes part of the examples you use to model what concepts you're talking about in class, like resilience. It's a whole curriculum now called social and emotional learning. And it's got all these words that grandmama used to do naturally, resilience, and, if you get knocked down, get back up, and, critical thinking and decision making. Well, from the very core of it, it's just being a example of how to live for, not just your own kids, but other kids. I've had kids come to me and say, man, I'm not in your class, but I want to be in your class because your students talk about you to us and they make us want to be in your class, when I'm teaching high school. But it ain't about the lesson, or me being excellent in math and social science. It's about the inspired life and which comes out in the conversation. So to me, that's the sure way to inspire someone, is to give them a good example and model that, and more importantly, that it's tangible and it can be an inner exchange and not somebody on the television or on the video screen where it's just a one-way kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome and a great point. I think one of the things that we know, right? We have a great example with Black Men Lab, right? That space.
Exactly.
That, we have young folks that thirst to come in there with regularity because they're getting fed, right? They're getting fed both, in reality with food, but then also mental food as well. And I think that that's a piece that there can't be enough of it. Again, like Jarrod was saying earlier, Molly always talks about touches. He and I we're always talking about behind the scenes. How can we make sure that people are getting touched? And look at that. I just talked about.
Yeah, if I could a quote that one of my mentor teachers gave me 20 years ago, Baba Hannibal Afrique from Chicago, where you from. Just a educator supreme, just preeminent. But he said, a candle loses nothing of its light by lighting another candle. Right? And so by living an inspired life, one can then inspire another life and not lose anything. Yeah. So my lodge brother asked me the other day, and I shut up. He said, man, how in the hell do you do what you do? Right? This is my Masonic lodge brother. So he knows me in that, but he also, so I said, brother, it's just one thing. You know what I'm saying? What you see as a whole lot of things is just one thing. Right. And I just carve my day up, take my 24 hours and use them evenly, or I strive to do that. Right. So, a candle.
That's awesome stuff right there.
I'm
Hey, brother, welcome. We just talked you up. I just talked you up, man. I didn't know you were going to get on here.
Oh, man, I had to, man. I was watching on Facebook. I was like, these brothers are going to town. For real. This is it, man. This is it. I'm trying to catch up on my Black August fast days. I missed some days, so that's why you see me gobbling down this stuff, because I'm still keeping my fast going until I complete my my Black August days. But brothers, loving this, man. Loving this, critical and important in terms of how we bring this greatness forward. So I just wanted to just lean in and just express that gratitude.
Man, thanks for jumping on, man, and the disciplined soldier that you are, living that inspired life right now. So appreciate you jumping in here, man. Having been a dad, and you're a part-time teacher, whether you know it or not.
Hey, man, every day is a lesson.
There you go.
For me and for others, depending on what what I teach, or how I live it. So I'm with y'all. I'm with y'all 100 on that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, Jarrod, what about you, man, on that same kind of question that I just asked Fred there?
Fred said that key line of living an inspired life, and Maoli always talks about touches. We have to put our kids in spaces for opportunity, and they have to be in spaces for exposure. Now, we naturally do that in Black Man Lab because we all naturally done that individually, and we just came together as a brotherhood and began to do it together to the tune that I get to relax a little bit because, I don't have to be Jordan on the court doing all the scoring. I can, we can pass a little bit. If I can get Maoli to pass once in a while, Maoli wants to hold the ball. Seriously, it's those opportunities and exposure, But there's one key ingredient that we can't teach. And so somehow we have to try to do things to help inspire them. And that is self-motivation. We have a poverty of self-motivation, and there's a poverty of internal motivation. And so we have to provide them with exposure and opportunities in order to turn on that thing that's going to inspire them.
Sure.
I've inspired a lot of my students in some of the greatest ways. But two of the hardest people for me to inspire and give all this great knowledge to is my own children.
Sure.
That's
the essence of Black Man Lab.
And so, I wait for these opportunities to have drop sessions, but it's not until they feel or go through something that they're like, oh, okay, now I understand what you were saying.
Yeah.
And now I want to hear more from you about it. But, so I have to be ready when they pass the ball because, that's the only time they're going to give me the assist to allow me to score, which is meaning allow me to impart some wisdom with them,
sure.
And then put other people around them, for the wisdom as well.
Right. There's nothing more, I may have said this to you before, Riley. One time, my oldest daughter, this is right when she was getting ready to graduate college, and we were on the phone late night, and she was talking about whatever the subject matter was. I don't remember what it was, but she said, Dad, remember when you told me? And then just everything stopped, because it was like, oh my God, you actually listened to something and you held it. You know what I mean? It meant something to you and you held it. And that's what we live for, because so often, I think I can speak for the brothers here. We're sharing with other, young folks that are sucking up whatever information we may have to give. And yet it's hard as heck at home, with your own. We always experience, I don't know what.
And let me add something there, Marty. My son, one of his high school girlfriends, he was talking to her mother about some things, and they were just talking. And what she says to him after they were talking for a while, she said, oh my God, Tariq, who's my son, are you conscious? She couldn't believe that she was talking to someone who had such depth in, social consciousness and history.
Sure.
And so she was like, where did this come from? And he was just like, well, my dad, I've been living this my entire life. But since he never really speaks a lot,
right,
you would know that he is second generation conscious. So
sure.
They behave differently from us.
Yeah.
As far as their consciousness, because they're natives to consciousness, where we are immigrants to consciousness. We had to sail to this land and get light, and they came out the womb, you know, with life.
Mm.
And so that little story, that just reminded me of that. That's
Yeah. I mean, there's so many of those. I'm sure we could all share those. You know, one of the things that you guys were talking about there was, you know, we talked about purpose. We talked about, you know, pushing towards whatever that greatness looks like and how to get there, and being in the right spaces and all those things. I think that, and this is a good example, I'm going to pull Motley in to talk about it. From our observations of the We Need You project, right? We just dropped the album, and the music that came from this project is amazing. And I've been vetting it with all, you know, young folks that I know, and then they're like, "Whoa, this is fire! This is fire!" You know, as you know, they say, "It's fire! It's fire!" And so, and it is to me too. You know, when we listen to it, I'm like, "Damn, this is really good product." But the funny part of it is on the front end of you know, Mauli's vision of the project, and then as we put it all together, on the front end of it, you wouldn't have known that those kids had that kind of talent. You know, you wouldn't have known that they would tap in, not just in terms of their skill sets or whatever that talent was, whether it was spoken word, rap, singing, whatever, painting. You wouldn't have, that's one thing. But the piece of them being able to actually read the book, digest it, and then put out product around it, whatever that product was, that was what was amazing to me. And that speaks to what I think we have to work so hard at, is getting them, all of our young folks. We use the you know, We Need You project, which was around music. But there's got to be other tools out there. So Maui, jump in there. I'm excited. That's why I'm talking so much about it, because I listened to the whole thing last night while I was working.
Yeah, man. I just listening to it for the third time in a row.
Yeah.
You know, I think the finding these, they're finding the space they're comfortable in. You know, it's like a player on the court. There's certain times if I was playing point guard and I gave the big man the ball at the free throw line on a fast break, my coach would go crazy. Like, what are you doing? Obviously now, you got big players that can handle the ball as well as many guards. But back in the day, it was like, you keep that ball until you deliver it on the block where they can finish, right? And so I think it's about where those places that they feel comfortable operating in, scoring in. And I think that the more we can find their space and then bring what we have into their space and let them do what they will with it, the better. What I'm excited about the project is the possibility of them tapping other young people's lives through that music. A kid that may never pick the book up. And that was the whole objective, was, you know, how do we promulgate this consciousness? And one of the greatest critiques that we hear in our community is that our young people are running crazy and doing stuff because of the music. Well, hell, let's give them something else to create. And they have done that. And so now I hope those same people who are like, you know, it's the music, they buy the music, they promote the music, they stream the music, they sit down with their, you know, with their young people in their lives and say, hey, man, let's listen to this album together. Tell me what you think. And find where they may have information, because when you hear Kwame Ture in one of the songs, the adult may know, and the young person will know, who is Kwame Ture? Then it's an opportunity for conversation. So I'm just excited about those possibilities and how we really pump and promote this to bring out that greatness in all of the young people. There is not, and I'll be quiet after this, there isn't an educator that's worth a dime that could tell you that a person is able to achieve at a high level if they don't have some level of self-knowledge and some level of clarity around cultural clarity. And there's no way you can be of service to us if you're culturally confused. There's no way. You can be incredible, but you won't be able to serve us. You might help others. So, and I did want to share, Marty, just as an aside, that Jarrod is a real gunner. He does not pass. So I'm a true point guard. I deliver it all the time. This dude, honestly, I've never.
Not the Navy term.
Hey, Jarrod,
I'm a true too.
Jarrod, I would just say I'm a man. You're a man after my heart, bro. That's all I can tell you.
It's just, it's a catch, shoot, or catch and put your head down and go to the rack.
Hey, Molly, who was the leading scorer when we played Kobe and Fahari and them?
Oh, yeah, of course, Jarrod.
And Molly was the leading assist man. Hey, so hey, it's all good. That's how we work together.
Hey, look Molly always knew where to get me the ball, which was never me going to the basket. I was never my thing. Always a shooter. He would look me off. You know, I'd be cutting to the basket. Looking me off.
I just tell him, keep coming through. Come through.
Yeah, come through. Get out there to that three. But came to appreciate that because it's absolutely right. I don't know what it was. It wasn't my thing. So, anyway, brothers, man, Fred, were you going to say something before you had your hand up?
Yeah, no, I was about to try to tie a knot, man, for the listeners and viewers. The picture behind you was the first day of school at, and I hope the viewers can see it, but it was the first day of school at a high school here in Atlanta, Carver High School. And so tying the knot to Miley's point about, you know, making that wave roll in the ocean of our community, like the young people that were inspired to create the album, now we're tying that together by bringing the program to Carver High School because, yeah, Miley, we're mining for diamonds right there at Carver. And so, yeah, we rolling the thing out. And I'm certain that the mentorship between those peer groups will produce something we didn't even anticipate. And to me, as an educator, that's the fun part, you know, is seeing the product because we labor, us educators, we labor in the field where we're not in the lives of other people and we're not always privy to how the story ends. So, but it always ends, and you know, or it always, when it comes back, it's like, dang, boy, you a preacher now? I would have never thought you would.
You stayed in detention. Yeah, man. You know, I think that what I've come to realize, and as we talk about getting to their greatness, our young folks getting to their greatness, what I've come to realize is that there's nothing that they can't do if they put their minds to it. There's the possibilities are endless, and I also think that everybody, you know, has a divine purpose, and behind that, that means that whatever the work is that you're supposed to do, like Mowgli, he's, you know, I've known this cat for the vast majority of his life. He's doing what he's supposed to do. I could have told you that back then when we were, you know, 12, 13 years old. I could tell you that that's what he's doing is what he's supposed to do. That was his divine purpose, and he's living it, right? And there's so many, you guys as educators, same thing. It's clear to me that this is what you all are supposed to do. But I think what happens with our young folk is that there's so much static in between their divine purpose and their lives, within their lives, that gets in the way of them seeing, you know, what am I really good at? You know, like with the We Need You project, we've seen so much come out of it, not just the music, but people becoming, you know, somewhat activists or getting into doing, digital work, whatever it is, and really being like, yeah, this is my thing. We had one guy who just now is just taking off in terms of doing anything as it relates to marketing and stuff like that, because he's found his purpose and what he really wants to do. And I imagine you look up 10 years from now and he's going to be super successful at it, So we just have to provide those spaces. We have to provide those spaces for them to see that. And that's why I'm excited about us doing this thing at Carver. And then hopefully with doing it there, we can expand elsewhere as well. Yeah. And like you said, what was that? The candle, a candle lighting another candle. Don't lose any flame.
No.
So,
Absolutely. Baba Hannibal, I free.
Yes, sir. Okay. And he also said, which we have up in our office, don't show me your theory, show me your work.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's the other piece behind it too. The kids they have to know,
do
the work.
Yeah.
Do the work.
Well, that's all it was.
Just do the work. And you do the work, and that's what's so funny. If you really just do the work, especially at a young age, you do the work.
Oh
man, you just take off, And
got all the energy, bro.
Us unks, on the other hand, we do the work. And we might get a little worn down, so we have to pace ourselves. But brothers, man, this has been amazing. I'm so glad that we were able to do this tonight. Molly, so glad that you could jump on. But we're going to end. We're up against the clock. But before we end, do the same thing we always do, which is talk about habits, rituals, and disciplines. And those things that you all are doing on a daily basis to keep you moving forward, keep you getting to your greatness. So, Brother Jarrod, I'm going to start with you. Your habits, rituals, and disciplines.
First thing I do is I get up, I drink 32 ounces of water, and then I do my prayers, libation, and meditation. And then from there, I try to get some exercise in. First thing in the morning, I go out and get my run and walk on, and then come back, get dressed, and get ready for my day. And sometimes I get up and I also I add reading some things. I read all the time, but if I can do a nice early morning read, that would be great. But while I'm walking and running, I'm listening to lectures. So I'm constantly feeding myself, and so constantly being fed information and knowledge. So it's a constant. So
what typically are you listening to? What kind of lectures?
Different things right now because I'm focused on my dissertation. So I'm dealing with the African Union. I'm dealing with Pan-Africanism. I'm dealing with racism in the international system. I'm dealing with neoliberalism. I'm dealing with theoretical frameworks. So I'm listening to various and different scholars and workshops and conferences that cover these various topics.
Gotcha.
And of course, always my favorite is Dr. John Henry Clark. He was Dr. J was my first inspiration since we got that. And then John Henry Clark was my second. So one physically and one took me intellectually.
Sure. That's good. You see what Fred's holding up there?
Yeah. Notes from African World Revolution by Dr. John Henry Clark.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I had the opportunity to listen live to his lectures and sit at the feet and talk to him for a while. So,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it made the reading list.
That's great stuff. You said you do that morning workout, man. That is so. I got so used to it that I came to realize that morning workout is an energy boost for your day, And the way that I came to realize it was that I just recently moved this past weekend, and up to when we moved, I was packing and stuff every day and getting the house ready to move, so I wasn't getting my morning workout. So you can imagine doing all that heavy lifting, but then not getting my morning workout. At the end of the day, I was sapped, versus when I knew I had my morning workout. And I had energy all the way through the day into the evening. So that's great stuff. Can't wait to get back at it and get back at it so I can pop my energy pills.
Yes, sir.
What about you, Fred? Habits, rituals, and disciplines?
Man, I'll be quick, man. First thing, my consciousness is, I'm thankful for, everything. And in that Thanksgiving, I'm then setting my vision for what my day is going to be like, what victories that I must have so that my day can be productive. And once my feet hit the floor, it's just about routine until I get to the altar. And, the evolution of my prayers, man, has been so interesting because Reverend Rice planted this seed about, we pray to our, divine source, but then, what does God sound like, right? And so, that seed sprouted to me, just my prayers evolving to now just about creativity. So then I'm off for the day. And the rest of the day, it's just focusing on the meditation of, daily life. In the Buddhist practice, we talk about our faith equaling daily life, and that all of our actions, thoughts and words demonstrate our faith in the real world. To inspire those around us and be inspired by those who are doing the same, lighting another candle. Sure. So we can see each other, in dark spaces, whether the light is on or not on. And that just by voice. So rituals, habits, just what they call the secret used to be the power of envisioning, things, and then the power of prayer and practice, together. So every day ritualistic, even on Sunday.
I love it. Because that being thankful every morning and grateful, starting your day with that, and then trying to figure out a way to remain in that space throughout the day, even when you have those rough moments. Whatever it is, somebody got on your nerves, something, you bang your knee, whatever. Finding that grateful space always keeps you moving forward and allows you to let it go, So
perfect opportunity to practice. You should thank that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
For making you practice.
Exactly. Hey, Molly, since we got you, you share your habits, rituals, and disciplines.
Oh, man. Everything that, I think it's repetitive. Get up. I'm reading now. I start out by writing out my day. So I write out my whole day. Sometimes I put at what time I'm doing things, but I write out the whole day. And then I meditate. Then I stretch, and then I hit that treadmill and try to get my miles in. But now I've been more intentional about coming back. Before I walk out the door is hitting that mat and praying and pouring my libations. I've been pouring libations kind of as I go out the door, but now I'm trying to sit on that mat and just pray a little bit and read some of the scriptures of our traditions. And I'll read that, and then I'm gone. So I think that's it. Try to kiss Jane every morning before I roll out, and I just try to move in that gratitude. So I'm grateful for you brothers. All of you brothers are very special to me and have played a role in my son's life. And I think as we grow older, you look for and you hope for, you pray that whatever you've done in another young man's life or a child's life, you pray that there'll be an adult that will reciprocate in some way for your child who's going, you believe in the universe that there will be someone that'll step into your child's life, provide them what they need when they need it, the way Dr. Robinson did for me, or Conrad Worrell, or Baba Hannibal Afrique, the way Mama and Jerry did. That's it. So great session tonight, brothers. I feel
my first
like
time out.
First time out. Hey, well, listen, man, we're over the time already, man. I told y'all brothers at the beginning this is gonna go quick. Especially knowing you all and how strong you are, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate y'all coming on tonight to keeping lab results rolling, because it's about the results. It's about what got you to where you're at, man. So appreciate that, and we're gonna close out like we always do, y'all. If y'all can lock in with me and just repeat after me. I'm a link in this chain.
I'm a link in this chain.
And it won't break here.
And it won't break here.
I'm a link in this chain.
I'm a link in this chain.
And it won't break here.
And it won't break here.
We are links in this chain.
We are links in this chain.
And we won't break here.
And we won't break here.
I say.
Hey, brothers.
Thank y'all, man.
Always good, brothers.
Also, real quick, links to the music on all streaming platforms for the We Need You project. So if you're listening in tonight, go to any of your platforms and look up Black Man Lab, We Need You, and all of our music is there. So I hope you take a listen to it and give us some feedback if you do.
Absolutely.
All right. Love y'all, man. Talk to you.
Love you, brothers.